Hello, everyone.
Awesome.
I'm going to let everyone trickle in first. We might or might not reach the usual number today, but it's growing very quickly. Again, welcome to the November travel information meeting. Once we get the presentation started, we will start recording. As it is recorded, it will be posted on YouTube um, after the fact, as well as the website and the slide deck will be emailed. Everything will be followed up. We'll give it another minute or so for any last minute participants. Entries. Good morning, Noah. We have a lot to go over today. And we also have some special guests. Okay, we got a pretty good number today. So again, hello everyone, good morning, happy Tuesday. Welcome to the November 2025 travel information meeting. We're really quick, just some housekeeping before we go to the agenda. If you have any comments, I'm pretty sure you heard this from me before. If you have any comments, please put it in the chat. If you have any questions, though, please put it into the Q&A. Again, we have a jam-packed schedule today. So we're going to try our best to go through everything first and then do the Q&A at the end, at least for my office's portion of the presentation. For our special guest presenters, they'll go through their presentation and then go through a smaller Q&A for them. All right. We're going to start recording. Again, this will be, we will follow up with the recording and the slides after the fact, and it will be posted on the website as well. Okay, let's get started. All right, so today's agenda, add a little bit more, but we have a special presentation from Alaska Airlines, as well as the Global Travel Office. And then we'll also go through an upcoming policy, the 60-day reimbursements policy, as well as just small policy and procedure reminders, vendor updates, and workday updates, and of course, the Q&A. Really quick, if you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't know, but now you do. Renee has transitioned out of travel and is now upstairs if you're familiar with Gateway Building on the 5th floor with management, accounting, and analysis. We want to thank Renee for all the good times with the travel team. And then we thank you. We'll let him know that. I'll let him know that. And now we will give the floor to Alaska Airlines, Dan and Gina. Thank you so much for joining. Feel free to go ahead and share your screen.
Thanks, Sam. If you could unshare, there you go. Thank you. And can you see that okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Dan Neville. I'm with Strategic Accounts at Alaska Airlines, and UW is absolutely a strategic account. And also like to introduce my colleague, Gina.
Hello, everyone. I'm Gina Olan. I'm sure I've met a number of you for the past many years. Thank you again for joining us today. And thank you to Samantha and Teresa for inviting Dan and myself in your travel information meeting today.
We have a lot of exciting news to share with you today. We're going to talk for about 20 minutes and then open it up for Q&A at the end. So please hold your questions till then. And I'll start with really a reminder of the benefits of the partnership between University of Washington and Alaska. And first, that is in the form of discounts, and I'll expand on each of these shortly. Also, status, we give UW travelers a faster path to earning status. And then other recognition benefits for UW, and I'll cover each of these. So in terms of discounts, Alaska has discounts for business travel, UW business travel, and those can be booked in three different ways. First would be through the UW corporate travel portal. These are the preferred agencies that UW uses, and the discounts we have registered with these agencies. UW athletics travel is similar. It's booked through the athletics travel desk. We have discounts in place both for individual travel as well as group travel through that desk. And then State of Washington travel, and that's booked through our Atmos for Business platform. And toward the end of this presentation, Gina is going to cover changes to this portal and how it affects your booking. And then in terms of status, we have an ongoing program with UW that gives a fast track to silver status. This is only one time per traveler, no matter what year. We are hoping to reset that in the near future so that you could participate a second time. But it's still a one time per traveler. But if you haven't registered, if you're a new traveler, this gives you 6 months of silver status with an opportunity to keep that status through the end of next year. So you can see some of the parameters here. But if you go to the QR code, this is the registration page, and you can register there. So if you haven't participated, I highly encourage you to please pass this along to your travelers as well. And then we have a second program. So if you have participated in Fast Track before, we still give you an accelerated path to earning status. And this comes in the form of an elite qualifying point bonus. Elite qualifying points are how you earn status. And we give a bonus on every trip you take for UW Business. So when you book through the preferred agencies, then this bonus is being applied. It isn't applied when you're booking government fares or when you're booking directly with Alaska. It only applies when you're booking through UW's preferred agencies. So for domestic, that's a 25% elite qualifying point bonus. I put a QR code in the bottom. These are just for the terms and conditions. There's no registration required, and this is running through the end of December. And then lastly, we have a UW Traveler Recognition Program that gives all travelers certain perks. And this is being able to change your seat assignment to the preferred seat selection. And I'll show you a diagram on the airplane where that is. But once you're ticketed through the preferred agencies, you can then go into the Alaska app or on the website and move your seat into the preferred seat selection. Again, I'll show you that seat map here in a second. The second is that every UW traveler will be able to board in Group B. If you're carrying bags on board, you know this is key to get good space for your bags. So this is a nice perk to have. And then if there are irregular operations because of storms, FAA slowdowns, etc., you're on a reaccommodated on a priority basis. So again, these perks are available when you book through UW's preferred agencies. And then back to the preferred seat selection, I just want to show you where that's located. So after first class, the first 4 rows are our premium economy. And premium economy gives you 4 extra inches of legroom, plus free drinks on flights over 350 miles. And then the preferred section are the 5 rows after premium, but in front of exit row. Really, the benefit is that you're just forward in the cabin of the airplane for getting your bags on, for exiting the airplane. You're not able to book these seat assignments when you book directly with Alaska or even with UW's agencies. Only after you're ticketed can you move your seat into this section. And then a big change for Alaska and Hawaiian this year is that we have combined the frequent flyer programs of both carriers. It was Hawaiian Miles that merged with Alaska's Mileage Plus. So the new name is Atmos, and that stands for Atmosphere and Most. So we're excited that to launch this new program that actually brings you more perks and benefits. So things to know is that mileage plan members are now Atmos Rewards members. So your account number hasn't changed. It's just renamed Atmos. And instead of earning miles, you now earn points. But the same balance has carried over. The number of miles you have or the number of points you have. So nothing has changed there. And then 1 mile equals 1 Atmos points for both programs. And then for members who have status with us before we rebranded, the benefits stay the same. And actually, we've added more perks, which I'll cover in a minute. Another key change is that we've renamed our status tiers. Before we had MVP, MVP Gold, MVP Gold 75, and MVP Gold 100K. Very confusing names. So we've changed them to be the metals that we all are very familiar with: silver, gold, platinum, and titanium. And then you can see the equivalent One World status. So if you're flying a One World partner, for example, a gold on Alaska would be a sapphire on One World. So that includes American, British Airways, Qantas, Japan Airlines, etc. And then another exciting change is that in between these status levels, we put mid-level tiers where you get a little reward on your way to earning the next level. So these may be things like a complimentary meal or a flight discount or bonus points. So between each status tier level, you're getting a little reward on your way to the next level. And then starting next year, we're going to let travelers decide how they earn points. So if you travel long routes, so say you go Seattle to New York often, you're traveling a lot of distance, you may earn your points based on miles flown. Or if you buy last minute and your ticket prices tend to be on the higher end because of that, you can earn based on dollars spent. So $1 spent is 5 points. Or if you go short flights back and forth, say Seattle to Spokane, Seattle to Portland, etc., lots of those trips, you may have more segments. And then you may choose to earn 500 points per segment. So this starts in January. We'll let each traveler select, and it resets at the end of every year. So you can change that toward the end of 2026. And then we're excited to announce that starting next year, Alaska will be implementing Starlink Wi-Fi on all of our airplanes. So Starlink, if you're not familiar, is produced in Redmond, Washington. It's a SpaceX company. And Wi-Fi is so fast on flights. We have it currently on our Hawaiian airline flights. It's so fast that you can stream Netflix uninterrupted on flights. And so installation will start in March of next year, and then will be complete on all airplanes in 2027. And it will be free to all travelers if you're an Atmos member. Then just a quick update. With our merger with Hawaiian, we have a total of 7 hubs, and these are all West Coast hubs: Seattle, Portland, San Diego, Honolulu, San Francisco, LA, and Anchorage. And of course, Seattle is our home base. It's our largest hub. We have flights to over 100 different cities nonstop, and that's growing. And then we're also growing our Portland hub to take some of the connecting pressure off of Seattle. So say you have someone going Spokane to Santa Rosa, California. Rather than connect through Seattle, we are moving a lot of connections over Portland, where there's more space in the terminal to accommodate passengers. And that takes some of the pressure off of Seattle so that it's not overloaded. Honolulu is now our second largest hub with our merger with Hawaiian, and some pretty exciting new destinations there as well. And then we're investing over $2.5 billion to upgrade our airport facilities. Our San Francisco terminal, Harvey Milk Terminal 1. If you haven't flown through there, I hope you get the chance to. It's one of the most beautiful terminals, in my opinion, in America, and that's fully complete. And then phase 1 of Portland is complete. It's absolutely a beautiful terminal. Phase 2 includes a new lounge for Alaska, and that'll be completed next year. And if you've flown through Seattle, you know it's a construction mess right now. I do have some updates in a few more slides. But most of those projects are being completed in time for World Cup next summer. So thanks for your patience as you've been dealing with that. We're close to the end. And then Los Angeles, a new terminal refresh will be complete at the end of this year. So here are a few slides. If you've been through Seattle Airport, you've seen this tower going up between kind of the intersections of Concourse C and Concourse D. So what that's doing is opening up Concourse C to have more light and space, some seating, some shopping on a second level, really just expanding that area. So just a few more views. So really a beautiful architecture and space for people to hang out before or after their flight. And then at the front of the airport, and this is where it's been really tight, is we're redoing the whole ticketing area. And this is a look of when you're in that departure level ticketing space, what you'll see. And it's going to open up where you can walk through this ticketing area to security clearance. And basically, we think travelers only need a couple minutes. You can check in online, so you don't need to stop. Really, only you need to stop here if you're checking a bag. And so we have the bag kiosks spread throughout, and then the bag drop machines are on either end. And then another exciting development with Alaska is we're turning Seattle into our global gateway. So part of the benefit of our merger with Hawaiian is Hawaiian had a large order of Boeing 787 Dreamliners. So as we take those, we are using those aircraft to expand international service from Seattle. So today you can fly Seattle to Seoul, to Tokyo, to Auckland and Sydney via Honolulu. And then coming in April, we'll start nonstop service to Rome, with London Heathrow and Reykjavik starting in May of 2026. And then we've also expanded service from Seattle to some more domestic markets. Like I said, we already fly to roughly 100 cities nonstop, but we've added Tulsa as well as Arcata, Eureka in Northern California. And you can see how we're also expanding Portland. And part of the reason for this is to serve their local community, but also to take some of the connecting pressure off of SeaTac. So as we grow in Portland, that should kind of give Seattle terminal areas some breathing room. And then San Diego is our newest hub, and we're up to 50 cities nonstop from that hub already. So we continue to grow new markets there. And then if you're not aware already, I really encourage you and your travelers to register for touchless ID. It really speeds up the security process at SeaTac. So you can't do this on the app. You need to do it on the Alaska website. And you simply go to your profile. There's a drop down and you can see security settings. And then once you're in security settings, it's just a simple toggle to turn on touchless ID. And then when you go to the airport, you go to TSA PreCheck, and it has a different symbol for touchless ID, and they'll direct you to the touchless ID line. There's so few people registered that really you go to the front of the line and bypass all the other people in TSA PreCheck. So I can't recommend this enough. And then now I'd like to turn it over to Gina to talk about Atmos for Business.
Hello, everyone. So as you know, we've made a number of changes, or I would say rename some of our names and terminology that you've been so used to. Like mileage plan is now called Atmos Rewards. Miles is now called points. And EasyBiz is now called Atmos for Business. Now, don't be surprised. People in the travel industry love acronyms, and sometimes we shorten this and call it AFB. So Atmos for Business. That used to be EasyBiz. Going on to the next slide. To sign in to Atmos for Business, Dan, can you? Oh, yeah, thank you. So a couple of the new benefits that has been introduced for this new portal are the exclusive bonus that your travelers are able to earn when they book through your contracted travel agency. Now, if you book through Atmos for Business, those bonuses continue to be applied to those tickets. Travelers earn 10% status qualifying miles when you book through AFB. The other benefits, like getting 1 point for every dollar spent, continues to be offered, and as well as seamless access to our flights that is shown on alaskaair.com, and having to choose and compare regular fares with Washington state fares. Again, AFB or Atmos for Business is free to use, and the reporting capabilities are continued to be offered. And of course, with all those points being able to be redeemed towards a free ticket, that is an additional savings for your department. Going on to the next slide. In the past, when you sign up for EasyBiz, you go to Alaska Air /EasyBiz. So for Atmos for Business, you will go to alaskaair.com and sign in using your Atmos rewards number. And on the upper right corner, as you will see there, there is a drop down, and you will need to toggle between your personal Atmos rewards account to Atmos for Business. So toggle between personal to business. If you are not yet a member, we have the links on the right side inside the University of Washington purple color shaded box that will link you to sign up for an Atmos Rewards account. We are currently offering a $25 off for new members. After signing up, you then are able to register your department for Atmos for Business. Now, remember, we have a naming convention when signing up for this account. You will need to use UW, or you can spell out University of Washington, and then append it with your department name. Once you're registered for Atmos for Business, you can email Atmos for Business at atmosrewards.com to request access to Washington State Fairs. So going on to the next slide. Yes. So after you register, then again, you will just toggle between your personal account to Atmos for Business. And you will know that you are in your business portal because you will see Atmos for Business on the upper left corner, as you will see on the picture on the right.
Gina,
Yes.
your speaker is cutting in and out. I'm not sure if it's an audio issue, but it's a little rough to hear from the
Oh,
speaker
I'm
or from
sorry.
your end.
Thank you. I'm not sure what's going on. Okay. So let me just repeat myself. So once post registration, you will know that you're in the right portal for your business account. It's when you see Atmos for Business on the upper left corner, as you will see on the picture on the right. Going on to the next slide. So this slide shows you the emails and the phone number that you can contact should you have any questions about Atmos for Business. Okay.
All right, so I'd like to open it up for questions. There was one in the chat about the touchless ID, if that will be expanded to other markets. And absolutely, the TSA is testing the program with certain airports around the country. Luckily, Seattle is one of those, Portland's one of those. But we expect once the program has been flushed out that it will expand to other airports as well. So LAX, Atlanta, and Washington National Airport are also in the program.
Perfect. We have a few questions also in the Q&A. First one is, when Alaska changed to Atmos, the website won't allow you to see all your trips at once. You can see them on the mobile app, but not on the desktop. Will that glitch be fixed?
Gina, are you aware of that issue?
No, I am not. Let me check with our Atmos for Business Tech department and get back to you on that.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Looks like we get a request to show the global map again, so I'm going to see if I can toggle back to that. There we go.
Perfect.
Are there any questions around this?
Not that I can see. Another question is, could someone clarify the maximum number of unused tickets we can use a month? Our department is trying to use up unused tickets, but have seen that we have been denied by Alaska, reason being that we've used the allotted amounts. Is this a limit based on the university as a whole or a department, etc.?
And I'm curious if that is through Utmost for Business or outside of that or through the agency. Whoever asked the question, can you clarify how you're redeeming those credits?
I don't see one. Monica Wu, if you want to follow up on your question, feel free. We'll move on to the next one.
I will say real fast, I'm not aware of the maximum amount. So once I know how they're trying, how they're trying to book those, that'll give me some more information and I'll follow up.
Thank you. Just to remind everyone, please put your questions into the Q&A so we can keep those organized so we don't have to fly back and forth between the chat and Q&A. Next question is, what is the advantage of using the travel agencies for discounts versus the Atmos for booking, Atmos for Business for booking?
So going through UW's agencies allows the discounts to be applied. It also lets us follow UW Travel for certain programs like Fast Track. I think that was one of the questions in the list. Only bookings booked through the agencies qualify for Fast Track. Now, I should correct that. It's based on your Utmost number, your Fast Track. So I want to correct that. It's all your bookings as long as it has your Utmost number in the record.
Yes, in addition to that, the corporate recognition can only be applied to flights booked through the travel agency. The corporate recognition does not apply for bookings made on Atmos for Business. Most departments that are using Atmos for Business are those that are using State of Washington fares. Now, these fares are not negotiated between Alaska and the university. This State of Washington fares are fares negotiated between Alaska and the state. Thus, it's a separate type of booking.
Thank you. Following up on the unused tickets, they were using Tangerine Travel. They were using a UW travel agency.
Okay. I'm not aware offhand that there's a limit on using ticket credits per month, but I will double check that and follow up through you, Sam, to let you know.
Thank you.
Yeah, if I can add on to that. So if you have a number of unused tickets, I am sure that your travel agencies are able to give you a report, a monthly report for those unused tickets. Our tickets are good for 12 months from the original date of departure. So once it gets closer, you will need to reissue those tickets. Now, there are several ways to use unused tickets. One would be to do a name transfer. So that would mean issuing the ticket to another person's name. That will involve a $125 name transfer fee plus the difference between the original amount and the new ticket amount. So I would suggest that when you reissue, always try to reissue it to a new ticket that has more or less the same total. Because if the new ticket is lower, you do not receive any residual value back. Now, if that unused ticket, the original ticket holder is a gold, platinum, or titanium, that $125 fee is waived. So that's one way to use those unused tickets. Another way would be to have your travel agent contact our commercial desk and issue that ticket to a credit certificate. Now, I would try not to do it that way because once it's issued to a credit certificate, that ticket will need to be booked on alaskaair.com. and your travel agency will lose control over the ticket. Thereby, the duty of care will be sort of a challenge tracking your travelers that are booking outside the system.
Perfect. Thank you. We'll do this last question. I know everyone has a lot, but we we will need to move on to Maddie's presentation. Last question is, does the touchless ID replace TSA PreCheck?
No, it doesn't. It is in addition to. So you have to have TSA PreCheck to participate in touchless ID. But if you haven't signed up for touchless ID, which most people haven't, then you can still go through the normal TSA PreCheck line.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Dan and Gina. We appreciate your presentation and being here and letting us know all the new updates and changes regarding Alaska, Atmos, and even the airport. So we really appreciate you and your continued partnership with the university.
Yeah, and
Thanks,
Samantha, before we end the call, for those that had posted some questions that we were not able to address, are you going to email those to us so we can address those? And some of those that we needed to get back to, do you mind consolidating all those and sending it to us?
Of course. Yeah, not even just for you guys, but also for Maddie and any other questions that I don't even answer. We'll reach out to everyone who presented today, and there will be a follow-up email after the fact with all those answers.
Well, thank you for having
Great.
us. Thank you for
Thank you
supporting
for your
Hometown
time.
Airline.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, I'm assuming
You're
that
good to
I
go.
can start. Great, thank you. Hopefully everyone can hear me and see the slides. So I'm Maddie McMath. I'm the manager for Global Travel Health and Safety as part of the Global Support umbrella as part of the UW Global Office, formerly the Office of Global Affairs. I'm going to talk about two major updates to international travel through the university, and then some of the nuances within that. So if you are new to seeing my face or to our office, some of you may have interfaced with my colleague, Ben Summers. We are the Travel Health and Safety Office. So we do three main things. The first being travel registration. That's where some of the major updates are coming that you may or may not be aware of already. But travel registration is a portal and a registry that we then manage. It gives us an awareness of where UW travelers are on their official or business travel. And then we're also able to monitor global events for where people are at any given time. We also manage the international insurance. So UW faculty, staff, academic personnel, as well as students are covered under a blanket policy as of 2024 and have access to international insurance as well as an emergency assistance provider who works in tandem with the insurance, and that is International SOS. And then we obviously also do emergency response. So we have a 24/7 phone that is first answered by UW PD, and then that call is routed to either Ben or myself. And we respond to emergencies. We also have an inbox that we monitor 7 days a week, travel emergency at uw.edu, which isn't just for emergencies, but we are looking at that inbox, both for general questions as well as any emergencies that come through there. So one of the major updates is that the new administrative policy statement 75.1 as of July is live. And this policy now requires international travel registration for all UW official travel. So prior to this international travel registration requirement, travel registration was strongly recommended. Lots of people or units were doing it with varying levels of compliance, and now it is a requirement. So for official travel. So official travel is defined as anything that is affiliated with, sponsored by, funded by the university. Obviously, this can take on a variety of different forms depending on what the traveler is doing, what your unit is doing. But basically, the way to think about it is that anybody with a UW Net ID who is going abroad in any sort of capacity related to their appointment at UW, so whether that's meeting with research partners or conference travel, anything that's related to their appointment at UW is considered official travel. Personal travel or travel for any work outside of UW would not fall under this definition of official. The policy also obviously outlines responsibilities, roles, very technical bureaucratic language that's in every policy. You're obviously welcome to read this policy on the executive office's website. And then it also provides more information regarding travel waivers. So travel waivers are, and places of high risk travel are defined by the Department of State as outlined in the policy. Travel waivers are not a new addition to our office or university policy. They're just further fleshed out in this specific policy. So faculty, staff, and academic personnel, if you are traveling to a country that has Department of State level 3 or 4 high-risk areas, you are required to essentially fill out a signature document within the registration that basically attests that that traveler is not going to one of the high-risk areas. If a traveler is going to a high-risk area or country, then they're required to fill out a longer version of the travel waiver, which includes permissions, more information about travel, and then that has to go through a further review process, which goes all the way up to the provost. So for example, if you have a traveler who is going to a conference in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, that would just require a travel waiver, which again automatically deploys within the registration, basically confirming that they're not leaving the city limits. If you had a traveler who was going to the Amhara region in Ethiopia, that would require additional permissions because of the level of risk. So what does the traveler see? What happens when they register? Right now, unfortunately, only the traveler themselves can register for travel, and only travelers with UW Net IDs can register. So if you have people that are working on projects that are traveling internationally, they're not going to be able to register. And executive assistants, as of right now, can't register on behalf of their administrator or supervisor. The registration itself, we've made it as simple as possible. We collect as sort of little data as possible. So it should only take a few minutes. I will put the links both in the follow-up email, but then also in the chat once I finish the presentation, we take questions. But once a traveler clicks on the link, they fill out their itinerary country as well as their itinerary dates. The dates themselves don't necessarily have to be to the day exact. If someone knows in general they will be leaving within sort of a period of 1 to 2 days, they're welcome to fill that out already. The creation of an itinerary will deploy this portal where they'll have information on assessing insurance. They'll also have a space to put both their emergency contacts as well as any travel waivers that they need to fill out. The second major update in terms of international travel at the university is related to the international remote work policy. So previously, our office existed only as health and safety with Ben Summers and myself, but we have now hired another person under this umbrella of global support, Chris Weems, and his role is specifically focused on UW staff, faculty, and academic personnel who are working in their capacity at UW abroad for over a period of 30 days. So this could be both for work-related reasons, someone who needs to work at CERN for a year doing research, or personal reasons. So if someone has a sick family member that they need to care for 6 months in Kenya, then that would also require a remote work abroad request. Within the policy itself, there's obviously exceptions. Again, the sort of technical language of policy is included in that. And this applies to both current UW employees who are then traveling abroad. So someone previously based in Seattle now going to Kenya, but also to employees who are specifically hired in those overseas locations. Overseas is also defined as anything outside of the US 50 states. So if you have someone that is either traveling to, like, for a conference or is planning on working abroad in Puerto Rico or the Virgin Islands, they're going to need to fill out either a travel registry if they're registering their basic international travel, or if they're planning on working abroad for an extended period of time, a remote work abroad request form. Why is this new policy in place? So this isn't actually an entirely new policy. This has existed before at the university and kind of fell off everyone's radar, especially during COVID when people were working abroad and working more remotely. But it has sort of been resurrected and is the policy going forward. And so this also applies to if you have employees who are currently working abroad. We're also working on sort of correcting those potential issues and making sure that everyone is in compliance from now going forward, including people who are currently working abroad. So the policy protects UW and individual employees from legal risks, but specifically tax risks. So if the university does not have a legal entity in a country, UW incurs tax penalties and has potential tax liability for personnel working in that country. For some countries, it's longer than 180 days. For some countries, it's as soon as a traveler arrives that a hiring entity would incur tax penalties. And so we need to work with you and the traveler and your unit to make sure everyone is in compliance with local laws. It's very nuanced. Situations look very different across the board, which is why we have the request process, and that information is all on the website. So how does it work? You have someone that's working abroad, or you're planning on having someone that is working abroad. How do you sort of fix that or start that to begin with? So, sorry, I keep switching over my slides. Departments can request approval for an employee to work abroad. So again, these should be essential to work responsibilities or due to a personal emergency. Someone can't just decide to work abroad because they want to work from a beach and not Seattle. And again, longer than 30 days. So if someone is traveling abroad for personal reasons under 30 days, nothing needs to be done. They don't need to fill out a work abroad request form, even if they will be working. And they also don't need to fill out a travel registry registration. If someone is working abroad for more than 30 days, whether personal related or work related, they need to fill out the request form. They're submitted to UW Global, ideally at least 4 weeks prior to the start date. Again, if you already have someone in your unit that's abroad, we would like to know about that so that we can sort of go back and make sure everything is in compliance. But if you know that someone will be working abroad, we recommend at least and request at least 4 weeks prior so that we can do all the correct checks, because it needs to be reviewed by multiple offices, not only our office, but also any other relevant offices, UW-HR if it's academic personnel, the tax office, export controls if they're going to a country of concern, or if they're a covered persons, etc. With all of that information, I wanted to give some contact if you have additional questions or if things come up or you have sort of some of these nuanced situations. So first is the Global Travel Health and Safety email. This is travelemergency@uw.edu. This is the email address that we monitor 7 days a week. So if you have a question, if you have an emergency abroad, all of that can go to this email. If you have questions related to work abroad or international remote work, those can go to global operations. Again, the three of us, Ben, Chris, and myself, all work under the same umbrella. And so if you mix up sending something to travel emergency or global operations, we will route it to the right place. And then if you have any questions specific to research security, covered persons, etc., those are going to go to research security at uw.edu. Obviously, we work very closely with them to make sure everything is in compliance in terms of research security. But if you know for a fact that your office is working on sensitive materials with a lot of UW technology, etc., those can be routed there. And then this is the link, and I'll put this in the chat at the end, that has the travel registry link that links the insurance information, and also on this page links to the work abroad policy and requests. So I will take questions. The link on this page, and I'll also put this in the chat. This is a page that we developed specifically with FAQs. So if you have questions that I either don't answer today or you think are maybe generic questions like what's considered international, can I register on behalf of someone else, etc. If you think it's kind of a question a lot of people may be asking, the answer to that may be on this website. And then I also got 2 questions that were submitted prior to this presentation, and I want to answer those quickly first. So the first is, what is the role of the unit to check if someone has registered travel? So the policy itself puts all of the responsibility and the sort of onus on the traveler. So per the policy, there is nothing that your unit is required to do or look at or assess in terms of if someone has registered travel. That is up to your unit. Your unit can decide to have faculty and staff submit their travel confirmation email that they receive when they register travel. You can, any sort of process that your unit or department chooses to enact to confirm that someone has registered travel, your office is welcome to do that. But in terms of university-wide, the requirement is on the individual and the individual only. This applies to all shared services units, academic departments, etc. And then will proof of registration be a requirement for all international reimbursements? This again is going to be your unit specific in terms of the university-wide policy. Reimbursement for international travel expenses will continue without proof of registration. However, one, your office or your department can choose to withhold reimbursements without confirmation, or whatever procedure and policy that your specific unit wants to put in place. But then there also may be personal liability or obligations that either fall on your unit or the individual if registration isn't completed. Tax obligations, legal obligations, if evacuations are needed, etc. So reimbursements and role of a unit is up to you and your policies. I'm going to look here quickly at the Q&A and see if there are any questions. Yeah, so measures discussed in terms of non-UW guests. So again, it's specific to UW Net IDs. So again, this can all get kind of nuanced and in the weedsy. So if you have a specific question that doesn't fall in sort of the general umbrella, or you have something kind of nuanced that you want to ask, feel free to reach out to Travel Emergency and we can sort of work it out over email or on a call. But travelers need to have a UW Net ID. So only people with a UW Net ID are eligible and should register travel. And then if someone is visiting the US, they are not eligible for insurance and they need to have some sort of, again, with a Net ID appointment at the university. Right now, International SOS only covers international travels, again, anything outside of the 50 states. If any domestic travel were to come in the future, International SOS does do domestic travel. It's just not part of the university contract or policy at this point. So as of right now, that's not something that's covered. I don't have a crystal ball, maybe in the future. When people sign the travel waiver, they are sort of waiving university liability. So in terms of signing the waiver, one, they're essentially saying that they are not traveling to a high-risk area, or if they are traveling to a high-risk area, which is really the ones where they're waiving something. They're waiving out of the policy that says you are not permitted to travel to these areas. So as of right now, university faculty, staff, academic personnel are not allowed to travel to Department of State level 4 regions or countries. And if someone wants to travel to one of those countries, they're required to waive out of the policy. And that's where it sort of triggers all of these reviews. There has been multiple campus-wide messages. There was messaging that went out through the UW Insider. There was messaging that went out sort of top down to unit administrators and senior leadership. So this is something that we're sort of ongoingly messaging. And then starting next year, so the beginning of 2026, we're going to do some unit-specific outreach. And we have a list of units. And so if your unit, if you know you have a lot of international travel, if a presentation or a meeting with certain administrators or people in your unit would be helpful, please reach out to us. We are constantly working on this, rolling out this new policy and making sure people are in compliance. Yes, the 30-day working abroad requirement is on the website. I'm trying to scroll. I know we're up on time, so feel free to stop me, Samantha, and I can answer
Yeah, no worries.
questions on
Let
each.
us, yeah, just answer this last one and then I think we'll be good.
Yeah. I'll just stop it here and I can answer the
Okay.
rest of the questions via email.
No
And
worries.
then if you have specific questions, I'll also put the links in the chat to the FAQs and the remote work policy. And then if you have additional questions, feel free to reach out to Travel Emergency.
Yes. Thank you, Maddie. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
Again, any questions to the Global Travel Office will be answered after the fact. Let me reshare. Okay. Okay. So we have a few slides left, and then we can dive into any travel office, services office questions. So the next thing we want to talk about, one of the biggest things, is an upcoming policy. So again, upcoming, the effective date is to be determined. This is a discussion that has been made between the tax office, UBS, about adopting the IRS Rule 2. It's also mentioned in the Washington State Office of Financial Management in the SAM manual, stating that travel reimbursements are to be reimbursed within 60 days of the end date. The reason why it's 60 is that is the definition of the reasonable period by the IRS. Anyone or any person who doesn't fulfill that requirement and still would like to be reimbursed, the expense is going to be treated as or reimbursed as taxable income. That's going to be actually done through payroll. Right now, we're just trying to get out some feels. If you guys have any feedback, we would appreciate it. We do have a few exceptions listed on the slide, such as approved extended leave of absence, employee was on business travel status for over 60 days, and a delayed submission by the shared environment unit or department. So again, this is an upcoming policy. We do not have a date. We've been asking for one. We don't have one just yet. They're still working on the back end through Workday on how to determine that. We know that some departments already have this policy in place, or maybe 90 or 30 days, etc. But we just wanted to let campus know overall that this is coming and we want you guys to prepare. But again, once we have a more visual update via the expense report system per se, and bigger discussion with EBS, we'll get back to you guys. But again, we would just love feedback from just everyone across campus about this. But so far, I'm seeing some positives, so I'm very happy about that. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. But again, just a reminder, don't forget to put the questions into the Q&A. It'll be 60 days from the travel end date, but also when it is submitted and or created. For right now. So it might change again. This is the general outline of the policy. Some things might be adjusted here and there when it officially comes out with more information, but feel free to put the feedback in the chat. Okay. All right. So just a couple policy procedure reminders. We have some requests too. So just again, this was mentioned last summer, but again, if you know, you know. Mobile payment services policy, just reminders that, Venmo, PayPal, etc., may be used as a payment method without needing secondary or additional documentation, such as a bank or credit card statement, as of again, last year's travel information meeting in July. But if your department requires it, that's fine as well. We always allow stricter policies. The only thing that is being upheld still is the exchange of funds. So again, if someone or a group of people, for example, book an Airbnb together, the person who incurs that Airbnb lodging expense is the only person allowed for reimbursement. The other participants can't Venmo that person who originally paid and then request. So again, only the person who originally incurred the expense or group per se is the person who can be reimbursed. Another thing that came up is reimbursing new employees who have a future start date. So if a new employee is to be reimbursed and on their workday profile, their start date is in the future, please reimburse that new employee as or through an MP miscellaneous payment, and then choose faculty staff candidates. If you are creating and or submitting a reimbursement at the start date or you're reimbursing at the start date or after, feel free to continue with the expense report module. We've also created a frequently asked question, so you can check that on the website. Okay. Some more reminders. So technically it was this past July, but Banking and Accounting Operations has updated the cash and check deposit procedure. This is relevant to travel in the sense if there's an over reimbursement, a trip gets canceled, and the traveler needs to pay the university back or return the funds to the department. This procedure, it'll be linked on the slide, but also it is on the Banking Accounting website. Again, simple steps. 1, fill out the lockbox cover sheet for the Bank of America. 2, submit the cash remittance form. And then 3, mailing it to the appropriate addresses. I believe there's 2 lockboxes, one in Los Angeles and one in Chicago. If you happen to do the old way and mail the check to our office here in the Gateway building, we will just forward it to one of the 2 lock boxes. So that might take more time. So again, we just recommend mailing it straight to LA or Chicago. This procedure also has been updated on the Travel Advance Reconciliation PDF. So if you ever open that now, you can see it links to the procedure. But again, travel advances, over reimbursements, cancel trips, partial cancel trips, or expenses that were pre-reimbursed that aren't needed, this is when the check deposit procedure will come into play. Okay. Some quick vendor updates. If you're familiar or use the travel agencies, corporate travel management has transitioned to collegiate travel planners. Basically, CTM did buy CTP, and then eventually UW transitioned over CTP a little later than other universities, but it is CTP now. Our account manager is Joe DeMille. His contact information is on the CTP page. Since CTP is owned by CTM, a lot of the links will still say CTM, but they're interlinked. So it's not going to be two separate entities. It'll still go to CTP regardless. If you need any assistance or if you see the booking tool says CTM, it is still CTP. So no worries on that. And then some Delta and Southwest fare updates, just to clear the water. We saw that Delta did plenty of changes amongst their fare classes, but just to put out there for the most economical, lowest logical cost, it's going to be the Delta Main Classic. And for Southwest, as they overhauled as well, Choice will be standard economy. So those two, Delta Main Classic and Choice, will be the standard economy, lowest logical cost, most economical. Again, basic is reimbursable, but there are hidden fees for seat fees for anything really on there. So just be careful because anytime there is a seat fee, it does require administrative approval and business justification, even if you purchase that basic economy seat. And then lastly, we have a new car rental agency contract that we can use for the U, which is Hertz. Our account manager's Nadika Pereira. Information again is on the website on the ground transportation page. Same rules will apply when it comes to car rentals for Hertz. And then the last slide before any questions, I want to keep you guys updated about Workday. So we were notified, you know who you are, about the duplicate error. Everyone's familiar with it, I'm pretty sure. If not, maybe you'll see it sometime soon. But we found out that the duplication error only looks back up to 90 days. So if the draft is within 90 days or submission within 90 days and you're doing another ER, the duplicate error will only look up to somewhat 3 months. We've discussed with UWIT how to make it forever, but as of right now, they've mentioned an enhancement up to 6 months. So again, that's more of it in progress. We're looking into that and to see how fast or where we can put that on the timeline. Another thing we've mentioned so many times, requesting non-employees to be on the expense report system or the expense report for non-worker task or module. It is on the roadmap. I know it's not the most satisfying answer, but they have put it on the roadmap. It is on the list. Again, we're a small portion of the Workday module and finance. So they have a large list to go through, but we are on there. So that is what's most important. Another thing we want to mention is the per diem integration. That is complete. So we're getting our foreign per diem, I believe Alaska and Hawaii per diem, automatically inputted via the Department of Defense, Department of State. And then lastly, prospecting. So I know a lot of people don't use it all the time, but the spend authorization module, there has been some talks about enhancing it for pre-trip approval. We would also love feedback about it, how we can improve it as well. But again, that is very early stages, prospecting, talking, making, or looking for ideas on how to improve the spend authorization module. So any feedback again, we would love that in the chat. Okay, we have 6 minutes. For questions, I have also some pre-submitted questions. We'll go through that and as much as we can before we leave for the day, so you guys can continue on with your workday. First question was, there was a question about renting SUVs, especially compact ones. Staff were finding that the SUVs were often less expensive than the full-size sedans. They also said that SUVs were the only thing offered at some enterprises, airport rental car location. Will these be allowed in the future? We did mention a little bit about this either last meeting or last year. So anything that is SUV, subcompact, intermediate SUV, if it says the word SUV, it is considered an SUV regardless and still will require a business justification. If it is the last one or there's no others left, on the website it does say to provide documentation of proof. If not, another option is, again, there is the sample form. Technically, it's the airfare upgrades form, but at the bottom, the department can adjust. The last option on that airfare approval form says only option left in a sense, and then the signature of an administrator. You can adjust it and use it for SUVs or upgrades as well if it's the last one. If it is less than the full-size sedan, we would still need documentation for it as a comparison. That's also one answer the first question of that. So again, if the SUV, the van, the truck is less than a full-size sedan, we still would need documentation. If it's the only one left though, again, business justification as well with the sample form approval if there's no docs available or no screenshots. Next question, putting meal per diems into Workday. Our staff was moving around state and sometimes between states for the course of 4 days, so a back-to-back. What is the best practice for choosing the city for meal per diem? If I decide to use multiple cities based on where the hotel was located, what times do I indicate arrival and departure? So yes, if you're moving in between multiple cities, multiple business locations, the business location itself, that is going to be the meal per diem. For example, if you're going from Seattle to Spokane to San Diego, that first part of that trip is going to be Spokane's meal per diem, and the second part after Spokane will be San Diego's. Until they return to Seattle, if it was only a 2-city trip or 2 or 3. But when it comes to indicating when to start and end travel status or meal per diem per city, it is determined when they depart for the next location. Just kind of like how we say travel status begins when someone leaves their home. The travel status can restart or change to the next location once the traveler departs their current or ending their current business at the first stop or first city. So that is how you determine. If you have more details or more complex situations, feel free to email us. Another one is going to be lodging. When traveling for work, it is often difficult to stay under the lodging per diem when traveling throughout remote parts of states. When there were overages, I was able to use within 5 miles justification, the vicinity clause. But I could see it might have not worked for these remote locations. Does this type of overage need justification? So whenever there's an overage, you will need justification regardless. Again, to remind everyone, we have 6 overage justifications for lodging per diem. They are listed on the website. Conference hotel is the most commonly used as it covers one, the conference location, business location itself, the recommended hotel, as well as the vicinity clause. Okay, we'll answer one more question, unfortunately, and then we will have to end the meeting for today. I'm so sorry. We're running tight on time. Let me see if there's any. Okay. I see Kara. So we're going to go back to the 60-day policy because I know that was a big thing. Kara asks, we can't communicate this without a launch date. Is there a possibility this goes into effect January 1st, or will this launch be later? I need time to take this up the chain of command. We understand the difficulty, Kara. We will ask and discuss with, the team, with everyone who's involved, when we can get that date out. Unfortunately, I can't give a specific time. We were also thinking the end of the year or the beginning of 2026, but again, there's no time. I don't want to promise anything and break those promises, but once we get more information, we will let everyone know. If we get more information within the next 24 hours, we'll follow up as well. But unfortunately, I can't give a date. But if we want to say something rough, we're crossing our fingers for next year, 2026, but I can't determine which month or which quarter it is. Okay. We're a minute over, but thank you to everyone who was able to join. We will reach out to Alaska, to the Global Travel Office, and I will also answer everyone else's questions. A video and slide deck will be sent as a follow-up after as well on the website. I appreciate everyone coming in. We did have quite a bit of crowd. And maybe you'll see another person next time in the winter information meeting, but everyone have a good day. Thank you.